So if you followed this channel this past offseason, you know that one team I've religiously covered and is very enamored about is the Houston Rockets, with Jalen Green's insane potential to be one of the league's next great shooting guards and one of the league's next great scorers. You have somebody like Jabari Smith Jr., who they picked up in this past draft. I think that this team incredibly well, since this is not a team where he has to be an insane ball handler, creator to own shot too much. Pick up the guys later in the draft like Tari Eason, who's shown insanely the Swiss Army knife and overall just a great defender and scorer to have at that wing position. And then you have guys like Alperen Sengun, Josh Christopher. Overall, this team just has a lot of players on here that can develop into something incredibly well. But one player I didn't get to talk about this offseason on this team, because I just didn't know what his future would be on this team, is Kevin Porter Jr. But this past couple days, he signed a $82 million extension with the Houston Rockets. And for a guy of his talent and his age, that's a very team-friendly deal. And that's simply because, you know, some of the attitude problems and overall just not knowing where his potential may take him. But right now, with the upside that he's shown so far, I think that Kevin Porter Jr. can be one of the next great point guards in this league if they utilize him right, and if he puts in the work to fix some of the deficiencies in his game to be the best possible player he can for this team. And he'll have the ability to do that with a lot of the offensive responsibility that's probably going to be on his shoulders this year, with this probably being another kind of tanking season with generational prospects coming up in the next draft, and with the Western Conference being as loaded as it is. So let's talk about Kevin Porter Jr. and why, or if, he can be this Rockets team's next point guard. So, going this past season, the Rockets made it known that Kevin Porter Jr. was going to be starting for them at point guard last season. And throughout the entire year, while he started out horrible, the Rockets really weren't going to start anybody else there because, one, John Wall, they didn't want anybody starting that was going to make them win any more games than they had to. And two, Kevin Porter Jr. is the future of this team, and him having the reps at that position was probably going to be best. And while he started out horrible in the first 30 games, he only averaged 13 points per game, 5.9 assists on 3.7 turnovers per game, on 38% shooting from the field and 34% from three. The second half of the season, as he got the reps in, along with his co-star in Jalen Green, they both had a very incredible surge in the second half of the season. In the last 31 games of the season, he averaged 18 points per game, 6.5 assists, 2.6 turnovers on 44% shooting and 40% from three. And overall, the past season, I gave him averages of 15.6 points, 6.2 rebounds, 1.1 steals, and 41% shooting and 37% from three. The three-point shot is the thing that definitely come off the page as the biggest improvement of his game, around the same amount of attempts, yet he went from 31% to 38% from the field. But the reason why his field goal percentage is all the way down is because he was completely abysmal from two-point range, 45% from the field. And while long mid-rangers wasn't really in his bag as a part of his repertoire, overall, field goal percentage from anywhere from inside the paint and three-point line, absolutely garbage. From 3 to 10 feet, 29% from the field. 10 to 16, 36%. So let's just say anything within the mid-range to floater range isn't really something special for this man. So that's definitely a place where he can improve his overall offensive impact. And as a passer at the point guard spot, while he did show some flashes of being able to set up his teammates, he wasn't like Chris Paul out there or anything. He definitely does have an ability to at least set up his teammates to the, I guess, basic level. He still averaged way too much turnovers for my liking and majority of the league's liking, considering the fact that he was on the level of like star level playmakers in turnovers while not producing star level impact as a playmaker. But as the season did go on, those marks did improve. While averaging the same amount of assists in the second half of the season, his turnovers went down drastically by about 1 a game. With that even still being said, he still turns the ball over at league leading rates while not being a league leading playmaker, which is definitely a problem. But a first season experimenting as a point guard, you can expect some, hiccups to be there, and just him showing the ability to actually pick out passes and at least being able to experiment and find open guys and actually make mistakes on the floor to learn from them is definitely a plus for this entire team. And giving him a contract at this level is still very team friendly with his age and how good he is. And if certain problems do come up, or they just finally realize that he may not be the player that they think he was, the money they gave him isn't too much where he'd be able to fill up. It'd be too much for a bench guy or a six-man role or another scorer, or if you're able to move him for somebody that really you want on this team. Overall, offensively, in Kevin Porter Jr.'s case, this past season was a pretty big plus. Improvements from three-point range, still great at finishing on the rim, and showed some definitely clear potential as a playmaker. Now, while the turnovers are still a problem, while the mid-range and overall in-between game is still a low-key problem. Those are things that can be developed, especially from a guy that's only 21 years old on a team that's going to give him plenty of opportunities to make mistakes and get better as time goes along. So the deepening of his bag and ability to get past his man, since he does rely on his athleticism a little bit too much instead of being able to slow down or speed up or change directions to get past his man, and overall just mid-range shooting is definitely going to need to be worked on. Still is a very young player with some insane offensive upside that's only seemed to gotten better as time gone along. To be honest, he probably be looked at a lot different if some of the attitude problems weren't as bad as, you know, they are. And last season, the offensive end isn't the only place he improved last season. Defensively, he was honestly pretty neutral. The year before, he was kind of a negative on the defensive end, not really showing any effort or willingness to actually put in some work on that end. This past season, that definitely ramped up, and he definitely showed some nice ability to be able to stay in front of his man pretty consistently when he does put in the effort to do so. As a one-on-one defender, he is one of the better young guards in the NBA at that. While he doesn't have anything extreme like very active hands or be able to pick off passing lanes, he overall, just as a defender, is still kind of neutral, since he does still have some defensive lapses. But as his career goes on, and he may be able to correct some of those flaws as the Rockets begin to, you know, transition to being more of a win now team as the years goes on, you definitely can expect the defensive lapses to lessen if he wants to stay on the court. And you can expect him to probably be a plus defender on this roster. He definitely has the ability and the potential and the athleticism to do it. So a clear overview. It was a great year for Kevin Porter Jr. He's able to fix some of the offensive inefficiencies from three, but still needs to work on the in-between game, which was always a problem. But if he's able to work on the three-point shot, I can see the in-between game definitely coming along pretty nicely. Definitely needs to become a better ball handler and add a little bit more moves into his game so he can, you know, be more adept at getting past the defender and use his athleticism to finish around the rim, which is already a big asset as he shoots 65% at the rim. As a playmaker, he isn't anything generational, but he's definitely adept at least being a pretty nice basic point guard for this team. And as time goes on, and hopefully his vision and his overall IQ for passing does get better as, you know, his career goes along. But as of right now, he's a pretty okay playmaker for a team that's not looking to win anything anytime soon. As a defender, improved greatly throughout the year, and overall just showed actual ability to play defense, which was a question the year before. So this season, I fully expect Kevin Porter Jr. to have averages around what he did the second half of the year, around 18 points per game and around at least 6 to 7 assists, while be able to keep his turnovers to the 2 a game that he was the season before, while still being a neutral to above average defender. But I think the biggest leap you see in his game is the efficiency, being able to shoot close to maybe 45% from the field and improve that 2-point efficiency to at least the league average of 53%. So, does that make him the next great point guard in the NBA? No, the guard play around the league is just way too great. But as a 21-year-old on the Houston Rockets and growing along Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., and whoever they pick up in the next draft, this guy can definitely develop into something crazy. And I do think he has the potential, the work ethic to definitely get there. If there's one thing you can't question is if he works on his game. He's definitely shown the improvements as a player. Now, hopefully he goes a year without any mishaps with his attitude, with his team, or any other incidents. And if that's the case, he's looking for an extremely big payday once this contract is up. And he will be one of the better point guards in the team, in this league, on a team that's going to wreak havoc in a couple of years. But let me know what you guys think about Kevin Porter Jr. Comments down below. With that being said, it's FLB, it's my time, and I'm out.